Hi there, today we're going to learn how to compare and order rational numbers. A rational number can be expressed as a ratio or fraction of two integers. The denominator, though, can't be 0. So for example, you can have 2, 1/2, -5, 5.25, or 8.3 repeating. These are all examples of rational numbers. An irrational number is a non-terminating number, meaning it goes on forever. It is also non-repeating. For example, pi. Pi is a number that goes on forever. It doesn't repeat. It starts off with 3.14159, just keeps going on and on. All right. You also have a common denominator. Common denominator is just a common multiple of two denominators, or common multiple of the denominators of two or more fractions. So for example, 1/5 and 4/10. They both have a common denominator of 5 because 4/10 simplifies down to 2/5. So 1/5 and 2/5. Least common denominator, or LCD, is the LCM, or the least common multiple of two denominators, or two or more denominators, I should say. So here we have 1/5, 4/10, and 8/20. We have 5, 10, and 20 as our denominators. Well, 1/5 is just simply 1/5. 4/10 we can simplify to 2/5. And 8/20 we can simplify as well to 2/5. If you notice, all these fractions have the common denominator of 5. This could actually be simplified to 4/10 as well, but we're looking for the common denominator. If you simplify that to 4/10, well, you can make this into a tenth, but you don't end up having the least common denominator. So the least common denominator would be the 5s. All right, so you might have seen these symbols before. We use these symbols to compare numbers. So this symbol means less than, this symbol means greater than, and this one means equal to. Use a number line to compare fractions. So one way to compare fractions is to use a number line. So we have -1 and 5/6, and we have -1 and 1/6. Okay, -1 and 5/6, if we plotted a point on a number line, would be around here, and -1 and 1/6 would be here. Think about it. 0 would be here, -1 and -2. -1 and 1/6 would be plotted here, and -1 and 5/6 would be plotted there. So anything to the right is greater. So the number line shows that -1 and 5/6, so right here, is less than -1 and 1/6. Another way you can compare fractions is to use the LCD to compare. LCD, if you remember, is least common denominator. So we have to see, we are comparing here 7/12 and 8/18. So 12 and 18. I need to think of a number that goes into both of these, or that's a multiple of both of these, in order to make equivalent fractions. So let's see, if I multiply this first fraction, if I multiply the numerator and the denominator by 3, I end up getting 21/36. If I multiply the numerator and the denominator here by 2, I end up getting 16/36. So usually you want to try to figure out, what's a common multiple of both of these numbers, both of the denominators, in order to be able to compare them. Because now you can compare 2136 compared to 1636. So which number is bigger? 21. So 21 over 36 is greater than 1636, which means that 7/12 is greater than 8/18. Another way you can compare fractions is or rational numbers rather, is if you use decimals. So in this example, we have, in Mr. Huang's class, 20% of students own roller shoes. In Mrs. Trevino's class, 5 out of 29 students own roller shoes. In which class does a greater fraction of students own roller shoes? Alright, so first let's start off by expressing each number as a decimal and then comparing. 20%, we should already know that this percent sign means 20 over 100. So 20% actually simplifies down to 0.2, or converts, I should say, to 0.2. So 2 out of 100, or 20 out of 100, simplifies down to 2/10, which here in the decimal is 0.2, or 2/10. Now here, in order to figure out the decimal, since we have a fraction, we can just do 5 divided by 29, and we'll end up getting our we'll end up getting our decimal, which is about 0.1724. So now you're comparing 0.2 versus 0.1724. Now the comparison is easier. Since 0.2 is greater than 0.1724, 20% is then greater than 5/29. So more students in Mr. Huang's class own roller shoes. You could also use place value to compare rational numbers. If I asked you to order the set of 3.44, pi, 3.14, and 3.4 repeating from least to greatest, well, that looks kind of tricky because a lot of them have 3s and 4s in them. So let's start off by lining up the decimal points and comparing using the place value. So 3.44, or I'll start off with the 3.14. That's here. We'll just add a 0 to it. Here's a 3.44. We're going to add another 0 to it. Here's a 3.1415926. This is pi. And here is a 3.44. Let's add another 4 to the end of it since it's 3.4 repeating. Alright, so all I did was make sure that each of these had 3 numbers after the decimal place. That way, now it's easy for me to compare. Okay, I have 0, 1, 0, and 4. So let's look. Since 0 is less than 1, 3.14 would be less than pi. Okay, since 0 is less than the 1, then 3.14 is less than pi. So we already established this is less than this. On this side, we have 3.440 and 3.4 repeating. Since 0 is less than 4, 3.44, which is up here, is less than 3.44444444, 3.4 repeating. Alright, so in other words, you're comparing the 0 to the 4. 0 is less, so that means that 0 would come before, that means that this number, 3.44, would come before this number, 3.4 repeating. Okay, so overall, you would have, from least to greatest, 3.14, pi, 3.44, and 3.4 repeating. Alright, and some concluding thoughts. A rational number is any number that can be turned into a fraction, and you can compare numbers using LCD, a number line, and decimals.